Welcome back. January is always hard to face, and with current news, it feels even harder than this year than most. In times like this, it can be all too easy to turn to food to lift your spirits, and generally this means consuming that extra scoop of ice cream, another handful of crisps, or just another couple of biscuits. This sounds like they've had a camera in my house. While each
I was thinking the same thing.
They can all do wonders, of course, for your mood. They tend to have a less than satisfactory effect.
Now, here to share some mood-boosting food and lifestyle ideas is nutritional therapist Heather Leeson. Good morning, Heather. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, my pleasure.
Now, you're not going to be the Grinch or the Grinch of post-Christmas now and tell us to go away from all the nice things we like, but there are some foods that I suppose you get the sugar high from and then you have the crash, and that's not good for anyone.
Exactly. And look, it doesn't have to be anything really complicated. It also doesn't have to be anything really expensive. But there are some basics in terms of mood, even before food. Things like keeping well hydrated. That's a really easy one that does slip over the Christmas period. But we know that being well hydrated has a really important effect on mood and energy. So just topping yourself up with water across the day, or if it's a bit cold and you don't like water, herbal tea is a great option as well. And of course, like in January, exercise is at the forefront of some people's minds, but it doesn't have to be joining the gym and going mad. A lot of people don't keep up those really intense exercise routines that are new to them, but just getting a little bit of regular exercise, like for a walk outside, when the rain stops today, get your coat on, and even 15 or 20 minutes, we know from lots and lots of research that has huge effect on your mood. And it's also going to help your sleep, which is kind of the other pillar of mood that can be really helpful, getting enough sleep. And over Christmas, when we've been off, you get into the habit of staying up a little bit later and maybe not getting as much sleep as you need. So looking at that can be very helpful.
And then we start to look at, as we mentioned in the intro, Heather, the extra couple of biscuits, the snacking in between meals. So you would like us to sort of look at establishing eating patterns and kind of stick to them.
Yeah, our body likes routine. So it's really helpful to eat at the same time every day, your breakfast, lunch and dinner, and also to avoid going for really long gaps without eating. And that can happen to a lot of people, when you get busy, for example, back at work, and you might have a big long gap in the afternoon. Now, some people are really sensitive to this, and you get this, the expression hangry, where you go too long without food and your mood dips, you might get cranky. Yeah. So it is important to fuel yourself regularly. Like you were saying, Simon, those healthy snacks, particularly in the afternoon or wherever your longest gap is. Now, I'm not talking about, some of the things that you might be trying to limit in January, but something like a piece of fruit and a palmful of nuts, or rice cakes and nut butter, something like that with a bit of protein is going to fuel you better over the day and stop those dips.
I know, but it's all very well to say like nut butter and rice cakes, but we've so much food knocking around after Christmas and there's
selection boxes and the tins of biscuits.
You kind of feel you have to finish it all off before you start on your healthy buzz. But is there an argument for maybe easing yourself into that sort of healthier idea? Because a lot of people, they go straight up and cut out everything, and then that's when the binging on the bad stuff happens.
Yeah, I think this all or nothing approach doesn't really work. It's about small changes that you make that you can keep up, and also thinking positive. So not focusing on, I can't eat the chocolate, I can't eat the biscuit, I can't eat the celebrations, because that's all you're going to be thinking about. But turning it around a little bit and thinking, am I getting enough of the good stuff that will keep me healthy, that will keep my mood boosted over January, and maybe keep the treats to the weekends. But we know in terms of what is helpful for mood, the Mediterranean diet is the one that's been really well studied. And that's not the pizza and pasta diet, just to be clear. That is, the traditional Mediterranean diet, loads of colourful vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds, some healthy fats, whole grains. That's what's going to help. So maybe picking a focus on, I'm going to eat a few more veg, or I'm going to eat some more healthy fats. That's a better way to look at it, rather than thinking, I can't do this, I can't do that.
Yeah. You mentioned healthy fats there, actually, which I never knew until this very day, that most of your brain is made up of fat, so you need to feed it. We need the fat.
We need the fat, and it has had a bad rap over the last 20 or 30 years, but 60% of our brain is fat. And it's particularly the omega-3 fats that are helpful. They help, for example, that our neurotransmitters like serotonin, the one that helps to boost mood and even regulate appetite, they help that to do its job, to be able to permeate the membranes of the brain. So getting enough omega-3 in your diet is actually really important. Now, we get that from fish, predominantly oily fish, things like, smoked salmon that we might have been tucking into over Christmas, and mackerel, sardines. If you don't like fish, it is a little bit harder. We do get omega-3 in some types of seeds, like your pumpkin seeds, your hemp seeds, your chia seeds. Ground linseeds are a great source, but you don't get as much. So it is a little bit trickier if you don't eat fish to get enough omega-3. And that's where you can take a supplement, for example, if you want, even for short term. There's so many on the market. So I recommend, if you do want to top yourself up with a supplement, get into your local health food store, and they're trained to help advise on the right one for you.
You've been on with us several times before, Heather, talking about the importance of looking after our gut and gut health. I mean, we hear so much more and more about it now, but what should we look at to try and, make sure our gut is getting serviced correctly?
So it is really important for mood, because that serotonin, which is that feel-good neurotransmitter I was talking about, more than 90% of that is made in your gut. And there's a direct link between our gut and our brain and mood. Two things to do to look after your gut. First of all, you need to be eating, ideally, lots of prebiotic foods. So they are fiber-rich foods. Now, I don't mean processed fiber like bran type cereals. I mean veggies and fruit and seeds, those Mediterranean type foods that I've mentioned before, because they provide fuel for your beneficial bacteria. And then putting in the bacteria in the form of fermented foods. And they are so common now. I think they've been a massive trend over the last few years. Our kind of traditional one is natural yogurt, but there's a whole world of fermented food out there now. There's a new Irish kefir brand, which is another fermented dairy product, but also sauerkraut, miso paste, kimchi. There's loads of different probiotic foods that you can buy in any supermarket, and they're brilliant at putting in those beneficial bacteria. I would say, though, if you are new to fermented foods, take it easy and introduce very small amounts to start with, because they can cause a little bit of bloating at first. That will normally calm down, but that's really important. And if you've got IBS type symptoms, probiotics can be really helpful, both in food form and in supplement form if you need them.
Fantastic advice. As always, Heather, thank you for joining us, and a Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Heather.
And Happy New Year to you too.
Right, lots more to come on R&AM this morning. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us.